All right, let's talk about what feels like the next giant leap in AI, the agent. If you've gotten used to thinking of AI as just a chatbot, well, you're going to want to stick around, because things are about to get a major upgrade.
Okay, so let's get right into the core difference. For the last few years, we've been talking to chatbots. You ask, it answers, it responds. An AI agent, though, it's totally different. It doesn't just respond to you, it acts for you. We're talking about a shift from a tool that follows your lead to one that can actually take the lead to get complex, multi-step jobs done.
So, what is it that gives an agent this new kind of power, this autonomy? Let's actually build a clear definition of what we're talking about.
It really boils down to three key actions. First, an agent perceives its environment. It takes in information. Then, it reasons about its goals. It thinks, it plans. And then, the most important part, it acts to achieve those goals. This perceive, reason, act loop, that is the absolute core of what makes an agent an agent.
So where does all this horsepower come from?
Well, let's start with the engine of the whole operation, which, you guessed it, is the agent's brain.
At the heart of any agent you see today is a big, powerful, large language model, an LLM. That's the brain. But here's the catch. A brain in a jar is pretty useless, right? An LLM by itself is isolated. It can't look up today's news, it can't do super reliable math, and it definitely can't take action in the real world. To become a real agent, that brain needs superpowers.
And this, right here, is the core of our whole explainer today. How do you actually upgrade that powerful brain into a truly capable agent?
It comes down to giving it three essential upgrades, or, as I like to call them, superpowers. You have to give it tools so it can act, you have to give it memory so it can learn, and you have to give it a mind so it can strategize. Let's break each one down.
First up, tools. Seriously, just think of these as the agent's hands. In the tech world, tools are just APIs that let the LLM brain connect to, well, anything else. A web search, your company's database, even an API for sending an email. And that last one is the perfect example. A simple LLM can write a flawless email, but an agent with tools can actually hit send. It goes from being passive to being an active participant.
Okay, next superpower, we give it a history, a memory. Now, short-term memory is simple. That's just remembering what you've been talking about. But the real game changer is long-term memory. This uses a technique you might have heard of called RAG, and it lets the agent tap into huge libraries of external information. Think of your company's private documents or technical manuals. This grounds the agent in facts, which keeps it consistent and, maybe most importantly, drastically cuts down on the chances it'll just make stuff up.
And finally, the third superpower, we give it a mind. This is basically its strategy for how to solve complex problems. A really common pattern for this is called react. It's super simple. Reason and act. First, the agent thinks about the next logical step. That's the reason part. Then, it picks one of its tools and takes that step. That's the act part. This creates this awesome observe, think, act loop that lets it chop up huge goals into small, manageable pieces.
So let's recap. We've given our agent a brain, hands, a memory, and a strategy. It can now act on its own, which, immediately brings up a pretty serious question. With all this new power, what happens if an agent goes rogue?
And this is where we have to stop and talk about building the agent a conscience. And the way we do that is with a set of absolutely critical safety guardrails. Look, good guardrails mean having control at every single stage. You've got input validation to filter out bad requests before the agent even sees them. You have tool permissioning to make sure it only uses the tools it's supposed to, so it can't accidentally delete the company database. Then there's output validation, which double-checks the agent's work before it gets sent out. And for the really big decisions, you have a human in the loop, which is the ultimate "are you sure" button.
And this really gets to the heart of the whole thing. Safety isn't just a nice-to-have feature. It's the bedrock of trust. Let's be honest, without strong guardrails, these systems are just too powerful and unpredictable to use in the real world. The goal is to make absolutely sure the agent does what it's supposed to do, and nothing more.
So when you put all of these pieces together, the brain, the superpowers, and that all-important conscience, what you get is way more than just a new piece of tech. You're really looking at the beginning of a whole new era of automation.
And this isn't some distant, far-off future. This shift is happening right now, and it is happening fast. Just look at this number. Today, less than 1% of enterprise software uses this kind of agentic AI. By 2028, the forecast says that will jump to 33%. That is a mind-blowing transformation in just a handful of years.
So if there's one thing to take away, it's this. This isn't just about making simple, repetitive tasks go faster anymore. This is about creating intelligent partners. Partners that can work alongside us to handle really complex, multi-step workflows, from managing sales pipelines to monitoring IT networks.
Which really leaves us with one last big question. For the first time, we're building AI that can actually do things in the world, not just talk about them. So the real question for all of us is, what are we going to ask it to do first?